CNN's Brian Stelter getting a taste of his own medicine for a change, confronted by a college freshman on the disinformation his network spews out on a daily basis.
They pushed the Russian collusion hoax. They pushed the Jussie Smollett hoax. They smeared Justice Kavanaugh as a rapist, and they also smeared Nick Sandmann as a white supremacist. And yes, they dismissed the Hunter Biden laptop affair as pure Russian disinformation. All the mistakes of the mainstream media, and CNN in particular, seem to magically all go in one direction. Are we expected to believe that this is all just some sort of random coincidence?
It's too bad. It's time for lunch.
You have 30 seconds.
No, I think you're describing a different channel than the one that I watch. But I understand that that is a popular right-wing narrative about CNN. The last time I spoke with a Biden aide, we yelled at each other.
So, Greg, with your analysis, are you surprised that Brian Stelter's first reaction would be to say that it's time to go to lunch?
Yeah, I mean, and it was only 9 a.m.
Right.
He doesn't watch his own network. I think that's the first point. Number two, it's pretty funny to see CNN hosting a symposium on disinformation, unless it's how-to. But it's a parody of itself. CNN's entire profit model is not reporting news, it's creating news. The producers shape the narratives so that they're designed to create content to fill up all of those hours of empty space and empty heads. That's what the problem with CNN is, that there isn't enough boring crap to justify its existence. This is why their anchors became commentators without ever being labeled as such. At Fox, we clearly delineate who's a news person, who's a commentator. I chew the fat. No offense, Stelter. I chew the fat, while Brett Baer and Bill Hemmer and everybody else, they report the news. Everybody knows that. We have a relationship with the viewers, so we don't have to trick them with these artificial narratives on a slow news day. We don't have to gin up conflict. The fact that he played dumb, and maybe he wasn't, it was kind of embarrassing, because the guy brought the evidence. He listed every story. It wasn't like the kid walked up and said, "Why are you guys doing all that fake news?" He went through, right. And then he made the most important point, is that every bias goes in one direction, which we've made that point many times. I look forward to seeing the young man co-hosting Fox and Friends Weekend in 2028.
Love it. So, Martha, that student did list a number of stories. Brian Stelter fancies himself a media journalist who covers the news, and they're desperate for credibility. So did he miss an opportunity here to try and make amends and say, maybe we could have covered these things a little bit differently, and these are the things we need to do better next time?
Yeah, I mean, and all of those stories that he listed fell apart. Every one of those stories, which they spent an enormous amount, if they spent as much time investigating them as they did trying to shove them down everyone's throat, they would have been doing some good journalism, and they would have figured it out, right? And a number of those stories, we were skeptical on from the beginning, and, made a good effort to look at both sides of this story. I think it's hilarious that he says, like, time to go to lunch. And then he says after that to the kid, to the young man, he says, I'm going to come out and talk to you after this. We're going to have a little head-to-head. And, because I do want to give you your due, and I want to make sure that I answer your questions. But he's not going to do it up there on the podium. And I just think the title of this, I'm so tired. The disinformation and the erosion of democracy. It's like subtitle, right? Yeah. They're just praying that President Trump doesn't run again, or they're praying he does. Either way, right? Because their ratings have tanked since they had President Trump to poke at every day. But this has just become such a catchphrase that means exactly what everyone knows what it means.
So, Jesse, does the whole misinformation, disinformation, isn't that just code for we don't like what's being said or being held accountable, and therefore we would like censorship for any outlet or media that doesn't agree with our mistakes or our narrative?
Yeah, you nailed it, Katie. And you made some great points, so I'll be short. How old is he? What's he, 45, 40? No. He's a grown man, right?
The student?
Oh, it's Stelter.
Stelter.
No, he's like 12. He's a young kid.
He's
Stelter?
Yeah, isn't he young?
How old is he?
I'm going to go.
All right, well, an 18-year-old kid shouldn't be able to leave you speechless and searching for a coherent answer. Yeah. You're a grown man, you're a professional, you're the ombudsman for CNN. If you can't handle a teenager, you don't deserve to be on air. I will say he's a much better writer.
36.
He's 36?
That's what it says
Yeah, I told you he was young. When he was on Red Eye, he was in college when he used to do my show.
Really? Oh, I thought he was. Okay, never mind. I don't want to get into that. Sorry.
But that's old enough to be a mature human being.
Right, but you should be able to handle a college freshman. Yeah. And I'm hearing from my sources, Katie, that he's not long for CNN, that they don't like him there, so they might actually cut him loose. He did say something that was interesting. Oh, he goes, oh, you know, we have to apologize when we get things wrong. He didn't apologize for any of that stuff, except I guess you could call the Sandman settlement an apology, but that was just a payoff.
Right. So, Jessica, a number of these students did get organized. They're from this conservative outlet on campus called the Chicago Thinker. Now the editor of The Atlantic is basically smearing them and saying that their conference has been attacked by disinformation as a result of these students showing up and simply asking questions in a forum where they're supposed to be open on a college campus to different ideas and perspectives.
Well, especially at an institution like the University of Chicago. So we're talking about the top of the top here. Right. And I think that it's a good thing to be pushed on these things. I think you should have an answer ready. I always have an answer ready. If there's something that I've brought up, I'm ready to defend it, or at least to say I was wrong about this. And that's why I have been cautious about certain scandals. Now, we don't have time for this, and I don't want to talk about it again. Like, for me and for many people who have the same political beliefs as me, what came out of the Mueller probe was not a hoax. It wasn't. And Mueller made it clear in his 2019 testimony on top of it that he did not exonerate Donald Trump. And
not his job to. You're presumed not guilty.
Okay. But that's not the point here. What happened in that meeting and with Ann Applebaum earlier in the week says something about where the country is going because of how young people are. And Gen Zs and younger millennials are not interested in traditional party politics. They're interested in being persuaded. And they want people with the kind of ideas that align with their values. So they care about things like the environment. Even young Republicans care more about climate change and believe that it's man-made than older Republicans. And it's the responsibility of politicians and of media outlets to make sure that they're taking these young people seriously in order to make them either loyal viewers or people who will come out and vote for you. And I think that that's a lot of the missed opportunity that goes on at these conferences when people just kind of send them to the side and say, you know, this is BS, whatever this one is saying, because it's not my political alignment. This is the new face of our generations. This is what Gen Z is.
I don't think people from the conference who are supposed to be leaders in journalism did themselves any favors by having an arrogant reaction to questions from young journalists who are writing and interested in these issues and asking questions.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.